Pain was ever present in the medieval world, a daily reality for everyone, regardless of age, status, or wealth. From the moment people woke up to the time they went to sleep, discomfort and suffering were constant companions. Life was short and harsh. Even minor injuries or illnesses could be fatal. The lack of advanced medical knowledge meant that infections, fevers, and wounds often led to tragedy, and many never reached old age. Childbirth, accidents, and disease brought constant risk and suffering. Every family faced the threat of losing loved ones to causes we now consider preventable or treatable. There were no modern hospitals or painkillers. Survival depended on sheer resilience. People relied on folk remedies, herbal concoctions, and the skills of local healers, hoping for relief. People didn't expect a painless life, they expected to endure. Hardship was woven into the fabric of daily existence, and endurance was a virtue. This acceptance of hardship shaped their worldview and culture. It influenced their art, their stories, and even their faith. Pain was not a sign of weakness, but a fact of existence. It was something to be faced with courage and dignity. The sounds and sights of suffering were everywhere, from the battlefield to the home. Wounded soldiers, sick children, and exhausted workers were part of the medieval landscape. Communities leaned on each other, finding strength in shared struggle. Bonds of family and neighborly support were essential for survival. Faith, tradition, and practical remedies offered what comfort they could. Rituals, prayers, and herbal medicines were all part of the response to pain. People sought meaning in their pain, not just relief. Suffering was often seen as a test, a way to grow closer to the divine, or a lesson in humility. Their response was collective resilience, physical, mental, and spiritual. Enduring pain together forged strong communities and deepened their sense of belonging. They used herbal remedies, prayer, and philosophy to cope. Wisdom was passed down through generations, offering hope and guidance. Pain was a teacher, a test, and sometimes a path to deeper understanding. It shaped not only individuals, but the very soul of medieval society. To survive, medieval people became warriors against suffering, finding purpose in endurance. Their struggles inspired legends and shaped the stories we remember today. Their story is not just about agony, but about the strength to face it. The courage to persist became their greatest legacy. Understanding this mindset is key to understanding the medieval world and the resilience that defined it. Medieval medicine revolved around the theory of the four humours: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. Health depended on keeping these fluids in balance. Illness was seen as an imbalance, too much or too little of a humour. Treatments aimed to restore equilibrium, not target specific diseases. Bloodletting, purging, and special diets were common interventions. Foods, activities, and even emotions were prescribed to maintain balance. Physicians gave advice on diet, exercise, and environment, all tied to humoral theory. While the science was flawed, it encouraged a holistic approach to health. The four humours shaped every aspect of medieval medicine and daily life. Even personality was thought to be influenced by humoral balance. This framework, though incorrect, guided care for centuries. For medieval people, pain was more than just a physical sensation. It was deeply spiritual, woven into the very fabric of daily life and belief. Christianity taught that suffering could bring one closer to God, echoing Christ's own agony on the cross, and offering a model for enduring hardship with faith. Pain was seen as a test, a penance, or a path to grace, a way to cleanse the soul and demonstrate devotion. Enduring hardship patiently was believed to purify the soul, transforming suffering into a spiritual opportunity rather than a curse. Prayers, rituals, and pilgrimages offered hope and comfort, connecting individuals to a larger community of faith and shared purpose. Saints were invoked for specific ailments, and relics were believed to heal, providing tangible sources of hope and miraculous intervention. The afterlife promised eternal reward, making earthly pain bearable and giving meaning to even the harshest suffering. Suffering was framed as meaningful, not random, and was often interpreted as part of a divine plan. This mindset gave people strength to endure what seemed unbearable, fostering resilience and solidarity in times of crisis. Pain became a shared spiritual journey, not just a private torment, uniting communities in faith and perseverance. Faith transformed agony into a source of hope, inspiring people to find light even in darkness. The theology of suffering was a powerful tool for resilience, shaping how people coped with pain and loss. It turned pain into a story of redemption and purpose, offering meaning where there might otherwise have been only despair. Despite limited knowledge, medieval people used practical remedies alongside faith. Healers relied on plants, herbs, and natural substances, honey for wounds, willow bark for pain, and opium poppy for severe agony. Mouldy bread poultices sometimes worked as primitive antibiotics. Remedies were passed down through families and monasteries. Surgery was brutal but sometimes effective. Bones were set, wounds stitched, and cauterization stopped bleeding. Pain relief was rare, but some plants could dull suffering. Treatments ranged from surprisingly effective to dangerously toxic. The healer's toolkit was a mix of tradition, observation, and necessity. Survival depended on creativity and resourcefulness. Even in darkness, people found ways to fight pain. Pain united all classes in the Middle Ages, peasants, knights, and kings alike. No one was immune. Even royalty suffered from infections and injuries. For peasants, pain was part of daily labor and survival. Injuries could mean disaster for a family, but there was little choice but to endure. Knights faced wounds and trauma as part of their code. Pain was public and communal, not hidden away. Communities supported the sick and injured, reinforcing social bonds. Leprosy and other visible ailments were reminders of shared vulnerability. Suffering was not shameful, but a common human experience. The expectation was not to avoid pain, but to bear it together. This collective endurance shaped medieval society. Pain was a thread that tied everyone together. It was a burden shared, not suffered alone. Knights and monks embodied medieval endurance in different ways. Knights trained from childhood to ignore pain and fight through injury. Their rituals and battles demanded both physical and mental toughness. Enduring pain was a mark of honor and status. Monks, meanwhile, practiced asceticism, embracing hardship to purify the soul. Fasting, sleeplessness, and self-denial were spiritual disciplines. Some even practiced self-flagellation or wore painful garments as acts of devotion. For monks, pain was a path to spiritual growth. Both groups used ritual and willpower to master suffering. Pain became a tool, not just an affliction. Their endurance was both a personal and spiritual achievement. Catherine of Siena's life shows how pain, faith, and endurance could intertwine, shaping a remarkable journey of spiritual devotion and sacrifice. Born to a humble family in 1347, Catherine grew up in the bustling city of Siena. Even as a child, she was drawn to a life of deep spirituality and chose extreme asceticism from a young age. She fasted for days, wore a cilice to mortify her flesh, and slept little, seeking spiritual union through suffering and self-denial. Her discipline was extraordinary, even among the devout. Catherine cared for the sick and dying, especially during outbreaks of plague, embracing their pain as her own and offering comfort where others feared to go. She saw Christ in the suffering of others and believed her own pain was a form of prayer, a way to draw closer to the divine. Her mystical visions were both joyful and agonizing, filling her with a sense of purpose and awe, but also with deep sorrow for the world's suffering. Catherine's life was a testament to finding meaning in suffering, transforming hardship into a path towards spiritual enlightenment. She transformed pain into spiritual purpose and service, dedicating herself to acts of charity and compassion for the poor and marginalized. Her story illustrates the medieval belief in the redemptive power of agony, where suffering was seen as a path to grace and redemption. Through endurance and unwavering faith, she became a saint and a symbol of resilience, inspiring generations to come. Her path was extreme, but it reflected a broader medieval mindset that valued sacrifice and spiritual striving above all. Pain for Catherine was not an obstacle, it was the fuel for her life's work and the foundation of her enduring legacy. Today, we have tools to fight pain, but the medieval world offers lessons in resilience. Acceptance was their first strategy. They didn't expect a painless life. Instead, they focused on how to endure and find meaning in hardship. Framing suffering within a larger story, faith, honor, or community transformed it. We can learn to accept, adapt, and grow from our own struggles. Community support was vital. Pain was easier to bear together. In an age of isolation, this lesson is more important than ever. Medieval grit was both individual and collective. By embracing acceptance, meaning, and community, we can face our own challenges with greater strength. The wisdom of the past can help us endure the pains of the present.